The Second Crusade. Part 1. And lo, in the year of our Lord 1144, the Muslim ruler of Mosul, Zengi, was expanding his territory eastward and desperately tried to take the powerful city of Damascus. But Zengi's advances were repelled after the Syrians forged an alliance with the Latins living in the Holy Land.
I think all you stupid infidels should die. But not you. You is cool.
What him say?
Him say he is dirty Latin prick, but he help us anyway.
King Jocelyn II of Edessa realized that Zengi was a serious and growing threat to the balance of power in the Levant. So when local Muslim leaders asked for help fighting Zengi, Jocelyn II was happy to oblige and pulled the majority of his knights and fighting men from Edessa, which left the city almost completely defenseless and very vulnerable. When Zengi heard Edessa was left practically unguarded, he hurried up north with his troops to besiege the first Latin state. And by Christmas Eve 1144, Edessa had fallen. Zengi then went on a killing spree and ordered that every Latin Christian male he got his greasy infidel mitts on was to be executed, and Christian women and children were kept as sex slaves.
Hassan Chop!
Jeez, why do we gotta keep saying that every fucking time?
Jocelyn II was kind of a dick and had a beef with all the Latin states, especially with Prince Raymond of Antioch. So when Edessa came under attack, no one cared to send any help. Jerusalem sent some knights, but it was way too late by the time they arrived. So Jocelyn II and his troops commandeered the town of Tebessel and ruled from there.
Well, it ain't much, but at least it is all mine.
And lo, just like that, the first Latin state established in the Holy Land was lost and back in the hands of the infidels. When the news of Edessa's fall finally reached Europe, Pope Eugene III shit a holy pickle and immediately issued a papal bull, a public letter, for a new crusade to commence ASAP.
I don't know what's more shocking, losing Edessa or the fact that pickle came out of your ass.
This no ordinary duty, Pickle. It's the sign from God that we go on another crusade.
But the Pope's call for another crusade fell upon deaf ears, because most of Western Europe's leaders were busy fighting over turf and or killing relatives that tried to usurp their power. Even the dopey peasants that could be talked into doing just about anything because God said so were like, didn't they have one of those already? Nah, we all good here.
Now is the time for all the good Christians to rally up and go on a crusade to... Ow!
We don't go for that crusading crap around here, Padre. So beat it.
Pope Eugene III was pissed at the Europeans' apathy towards crusading. So he brought out the big guns and called upon his friend and mentor, Bernard of Clairvaux, a fanatical mystical abbot, to go out there and light a fire under their lackadaisical Christian asses and get them riled up to kill the infidels.
Crusade schmusade! You fucking priest think we that fucking stupid?
Stupid? No, if you were stupid, you would stay here and miss out on all the fun raping and pillaging.
And boy, oh boy, did Bernard get them Christians riled up good. Thanks to Bernard's mythical silver-tongued oratory magic, thousands of barons, dukes, knights, and common riffraff from all across Europe were once again bitten by the crusading bug and whipped into a religious frenzy.
Das Wald, you crazy bastards!
Can you dig it? fact, Bernard's fire and brimstone preaching was so persuasive that he even got real bona fide royalty to sign up. The first to take the cross and pledge to lead the crusade and retake Edessa from the infidels was King Louis VII of France and his wife, Eleanor of Aquitaine.
I swear to you, crusading is so fun! Like a vacation! Okay, but this better not be another stupid timeshare scam.
German King Conrad III, leader of the Holy Roman Empire, was reluctant to go on a crusade, but after a meeting with Bernard, Conrad was jacked up with religious fervor and was moved to tears, although he blamed it on an onion he was cutting up. So he took the cross and vowed to lead 20,000 ferocious, fanatical, Holy Roman Huns on a new crusade. All the raping and pillaging you want, and the free pass into heaven to boot? I feel like the fat kid in the strudel house.
Sieke Sacke, hoi, hoi, hoi. Let's go and conquer this shithole.
By May of 1147, King Conrad III, along with his half-brother, Bishop Otto of Friesling, and some other Germanic nobles, set off for the Holy Land with a massive Crusader army. The Germans were involved in a political beef with the Italians, who controlled the shipping and carting industry, and couldn't get boats to sail them over, so they had to walk. $25 each for the boat ride? I knew you Wops was all crooked. I'll walk all the way there myself.
Oh yeah? Now it costs $40 for the boat ride.
Come on. Yeah.
I hope you'll get the corns on your smelly German feet.
Conrad III also had a political beef with King Geza II of Hungary, so he had to negotiate a one-sided pro-Hungarian peace accord with Geza in order to allow his troops to pass through Hungary safely, which they did. Even more surprising, the Crusaders hardly even pillaged, raped, or looted anything along the way. The only thing they took were dumps.
I'll let you pass, but any nonsense and I is calling the cops.
Don't worry, Geza. It's too damn hard for the quatch. By the time Conrad III and his Holy Roman troops reached the outskirts of Constantinople in September 1147, they were cranky and ornery and almost immediately began skirmishing with the Byzantine troops that were stationed outside the city to prevent the unruly Germans from entering.
You realize we is attacking fellow Christians, right?
I come here to kill people. I don't care who they is.
Byzantine Emperor Manuel I was pretty cheesed by these unruly German crusaders coming to his home and stirring up shit, and even believed that they had desires on Constantinople itself. So he quickly hustled them into whatever boats were available and ferried them across the Bosphorus and over to Asia Minor to get them out of his hair.
Ach du lieber, we's gonna need a bigger boat.
Meanwhile, King Louis VII and the French Crusaders were lollygagging around at cafes in Paris and didn't even set off for the Holy Land until June 1147. King Louis VII, Queen Eleanor, and some of the haughtier knights took luxury yachts on a pleasure cruise to Constantinople, while the poor schlubs that made up the bulk of the army had to hoof it the whole way.
Oh, look! It's a French parade! Take a picture, honey!
Around the same time in 1147, a bunch of northern Germans, Danes, Saxons, and Poles met with Bernard and said they didn't really feel like walking all the way to Jerusalem and wanted to know if it would be cool if they could just stay home and kill those pagan Wens who worshipped at Wendy's instead.
Jerusalem is way too far to walk. And I got bunions.
Yeah, can we stay and kill the Wens? They all just a bunch of pagan villains.
Sure, I guess. Killing pagans is a good thing.
Bernard agreed that a pagan was a pagan and should be killed. So he wrote a letter to Pope Eugene III and asked for permission to murder all the infidel Slavs. The Pope replied that killing northern pagans was an awesome idea, and even granted the northern Crusaders the same exact spiritual rewards given to the Crusaders that went to the Holy Land.
And the Waynes pray to a false god that they call the Baconator.
What is the Baconator's appeal? You must go to the Wendy's and get me one. Oh, and the pasty too.
The northern Crusaders quickly tore through the Slavic and Baltic regions up north and slaughtered thousands of pagan Wends, Slavs, and even some Eastern Orthodox Christians. The few that survived were so scared they agreed to convert and get baptized, and in just a few short months there were no Wends left for the Crusaders to kill. Fast food is the devil's food! Eat a salad instead.
High cholesterol is the sin against God. Eat your vegetables or you will burn in hell.
Another group of Crusaders sailed out from England, but bad storms forced them to find safe harbor in Portugal. While waiting out the storms, Portuguese King Alfonso I commanded that the Crusaders stay and help him expel the infidel Moors from Lisbon. So the Crusaders wrote to Pope Eugene III and asked if it would be okay to kill those infidels instead.
The Moors is all lazy and the shiftless. You know how those people are.
Yeah, we don't need no convincing, cause we's a bunch of racists anyhow. Pope Eugene III hated all infidels equally, so he granted the English Crusaders permission to stay in Portugal and kill the Moors, and told them that if they kicked the Moors' black asses out of Portugal, that they would be entitled to the same spiritual rewards in heaven as the dopey Crusaders that had to march all the way to the Holy Land for theirs.
And if you kill 6 or more, you get the free pass to heaven.
Yeah, so is it okay if I beat off watching Louis in the shower now?
And lo, kick ass they did. In just 4 months, the Crusaders' siege of Lisbon totally broke the Moors' spirit. So they offered to surrender and leave peacefully, which the Crusaders agreed to, but then changed their minds and ended up slaughtering most of the Moors anyway. These Crusaders were on a roll and retook many cities throughout Portugal and Spain.
I will accept your peace offering. May you go in pieces. I mean peace.
You're not gonna pull a fast one now, is you? You said we can walk out of here, man. That's the deal.
By 1148, the English Crusaders helped to kill or expel thousands of Moors from Portugal and Spain, and returned many towns to Christian rule once again. It must be beautiful in Portugal, because after finishing their campaign, many of the Crusaders remained there and made it their new home. Tan chicks with nice teeth and topless beaches? I ain't never going home, Gov.
I've got such a boner right now. I could walk if I wanted to. Yeah.
But let's get back to the real crusade. King Louis VII and his French Crusaders finally reached Constantinople around October in 1147. And although they were treated much nicer than the Germans were, Emperor Emmanuel I was leery of all Franks and gave them the bum's rush over to Asia Minor.
Eat my daughter's communion tomorrow, so big day, you know. You guys gotta go. See ya. Bye.
Mon Dieu, sometimes your Greeks can be the big royal pain in the ass.
Meanwhile, over in Anatolia, King Conrad and the German Crusaders were getting bored sitting around and waiting for the French contingent to arrive. So Conrad split his group into 2 divisions, and he led his best knights to attack Iconium and start killing infidels, and put Otto in charge of a group of foot soldiers, peasants, and unarmed pilgrims, and had them march along the safer coastal route to Jerusalem. I is bored here. Do anyone want to play Monopoly?
I won't play with him. He always cheats and steals my hotels.
King Conrad got no guidance or help from the Byzantines and underestimated the length of the arduous march to Iconium. So by the time they finally reached Dorylaeum in October 1147, the German Crusaders were hungry, thirsty, sunburnt, and exhausted, and in no mood for fighting.
Hold on here. This not your Disney. You lied to us.
And this was precisely what the Seljuks wanted to happen. The weary German Crusaders were weakened now, so the Turks attacked them in full force and completely routed the Crusaders, killing them by the thousands, although Conrad and a few others somehow managed to escape the battle.
Wherefore is to being your Christian God now? Huh? Stupid Christians!
Must be Sunday. He don't work on the Sundays.
King Conrad and the few surviving Crusaders began their long, slow retreat back to Constantinople, which was made 10 times worse due to the bands of Turks that closely followed them from behind and shot arrows at them just for shits and giggles. Even King Conrad was wounded when a stray arrow flew in and hit him right in the butt cheek.
Turk, you are for to be dead!
Ach du lieber, you got me right in the keister.
And it was even worse for Bishop Otto of Freseling and the rest of the German contingent that marched along the supposedly safer Mediterranean coast. First, they ran out of food and water while crossing some really inhospitable land. Then, after being sufficiently weakened by hunger and thirst, got ambushed by the Turks near Laodicea and were wiped out.
What's so quiet, Fritz? A cat got your tongue? Holy Scheiße!
King Louis VII and his French Crusaders reached Lopadion in November 1147 and ran into King Conrad III and the few surviving German Crusaders as they were beating a hasty retreat to Constantinople, and, after much cajoling by Louis, they reluctantly agreed to join with the French forces and moved east to take the coastal route south to Jerusalem.
Quick, hide behind the tree. If Louis sees us, he'll make us keep crusading.
By December of 1147, rumors of an imminent Seljuk attack were spreading through the Crusaders' camp and causing lots of Crusader diarrhea. Even King Conrad III got really sick and returned to Constantinople, leaving King Louis VII on his own. So Louis kept marching towards Jerusalem and even won a few minor skirmishes against the filthy Turks along the way.
Go back to Frankland, the stolen Frank.
Pretty big dog from the guy wearing it with my Flintstone dress.
Mac, I made a really big band-aid over here. Stat!
When the Crusaders reached Laodicea in January of 1148, they didn't realize the Turks were already there waiting for them to show up. The Saracens attacked in full force and quickly laid waste to the weary Christians. King Louis VII climbed up on a rock to yell insults at the Turks, but, lucky for him, they didn't recognize him and ignored his rants.
The devil appears in various guises, but the main one is the Turks.
King Louis VII then got lucky again, because the battle was such a lopsided, mismatched ass-whooping that the Turks grew bored with it and just left. which allowed Louis, his wife Eleanor, and a few hundred surviving Crusaders to flee to the relative safety of the nearby Byzantine town of Adalia.
Wait! Wait! I dropped my lucky rabbit's foot!
When King Louis VII and company finally reached Adalia, he complained that his feet hurt and he didn't want to march anymore. So he commandeered several ships from the locals for him and his rich friends to sail to Antioch, once again leaving all the poor schlubs behind to march on their own.
Can we go on the boat ride too? My feet are killing me.
Oh, sorry, but passage with smelly feet are not allowed on the boat.
Hurry and go wash your sticky feet, Claude. I don't want us to get kicked off the boat.
Well now, this is getting pretty crazy, right? Thousands of desperate, deranged religious kooks getting picked off by the Turks as they wander through Asia Minor on their way to Jerusalem to do a little sightseeing and praying to absolve their sins, then get revenge and kill some infidels and recapture Edessa. Maybe, or possibly Damascus? They were gonna conquer something in the name of Christianity. Honestly, what could possibly go wrong? Hope you enjoyed part 1 of Holy Crap, the Second Crusade. Be sure to check out part 2 to see how this wacky episode of history pans out. All I can tell you is, hang on to your cod piece.